What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning to another episode of Right on Cue Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Logan Chestnut, Small Batch Barbecue. Joining me tonight is my barbecue brother, Mr. AJ Johnson from the Norella Barbecue Team. Mr. AJ, what's up, brother?
Man, what's up? What's up, man? Long time no see, man. How you been?
It's been a minute, man. It's been a fresh minute. We missed your beautiful face on this show, man. It's been a minute,
That's
but
right.
you have some family stuff to deal with, and now we're back. It's barbecue time, man.
Back barbecue time, baby. Ready to burn some meat.
I know. You think it's coincidental that like barbecue season and NASCAR season kick off close to the same time?
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, it's the same viewers.
Yeah.
We have a guy that works for us. He's always talking about NASCAR races and this, and I'm like, I haven't seen a NASCAR race in completion in my entire life, but I turned one on the other night, last night, and I was like, I want to check this out. And like after the fourth left turn, I'm like, no, I'm turning this off.
Yeah, it's like making a left turn.
Making a left turn.
Making a left turn. And the left turn.
Oh man. No, I think they do that though, because you can like literally, drink and get drunk, pass out, wake up, and you don't miss much.
Yep, not at all. Yeah, I have no desire to go see a race car.
I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't mind going to Dega. Go down to Talladega with all them fine, sophisticated folks. It'd be all right.
Let me know how it goes.
Oh man, I will, man. I'm gonna go. We're gonna go. How far is Talladega from you?
About 2 hours. Not bad.
Oh
About
man, that's home court advantage right there.
Yeah, not bad at all, man. It's I know a lot of people that go and they have fun and do things they shouldn't do, but it's neither here nor there.
That's what you should do. You should always do things you shouldn't do.
And well, depends.
That's the only things I know how to do is do things I shouldn't do. No, but no, man. So we got barbecue season coming up. You got a class, 2 weeks?
Yep, and 2 weeks, man. I'm excited for that, man, and hopefully we get to learn some things from the master Drew Davis himself. And
that's right, Razor X. This is gonna be your first official class.
Class, thanks to my buddy right here.
That's right, man. Right on cue to Christmas page.
That's right.
No, I know. I thought about it, like, what in the hell did I do? Like, you don't need help. I don't want you to have help.
Well, I want to go for the techniques. Maybe some I'm missing. So
sure. No, I don't want you to get better, AJ. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want you to get better. I don't want you to learn techniques. I want you to forget shit.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we don't do that,
dude. I was trying to. Have you done we talked about earlier, have you done practice cooks yet? Have you tried at all for this season? I'm so unprepared.
Man, not at all, man. The only thing I've done around here has been catering stuff, and that's about it. I have not cooked a competition meat since December, so I gotta
set my game. Like, I've seen these people all the time that that they're doing practice cooks and they're showing practice cooks of this and that, and I'm like, man, they're gonna kick my ass this season. Because there's stuff I can like tell. It's like every week it's getting better and better and better. I'm like, crap. And I'm like, I should do a practice cook. And I was going to do a practice cook this past weekend, but then Noah's Ark came and just like washed away everything. It rained for, I'm not kidding you, here in Clarksville, it rained for 18 hours straight. And I'm not talking about little, trickle in the rain. No, it was like gully washer. That's for you country people. It's the gully washer. And it was terrible. I had like 2 ponds right next to my house that wasn't there the other day.
Right. Be like kind of like the old folks standing back there, cow piss on a flat rock.
Cow piss on a flat rock. That's how, if the good Lord what's that saying? If the good Lord
willing and the creek don't rise.
Yeah, there you go. You know it is.
Oh yeah.
But no, man, it was insane. I'm like, man, we can do nothing. I haven't seen sunshine since I don't know when the last time there was like a nice sunny day. It's been like I call it the Kentucky gray. It's just like you look out, it's just depressing.
Right.
It's like watching Alabama's football season last year. Just depressing.
Rough.
And Auburn's even worse. And Kentucky, man.
Hey, come on now.
Dude, Alabama's a basketball state. How do you feel about that, man? The state of Alabama is far better in basketball than they are in football for the first time in forever.
Well, man, I just hope they go all the way. I think they got a good team. Duke gonna be a little bit hard to pass, I think, but
we already beat them.
Well,
it was early in the season though. No,
right.
well, we beat the good teams, and then we play like Helen Keller School of the Blind and Deaf, and then they just curb stomp us. And I hate it. I hate sports. I want barbecue, and forget it. I don't know. I'm so happy I'm not a sports announcer, because I'd be on this, like if I was a Kentucky podcast, I'd be on this thing crying all the time and just getting mad and drinking, and I'll be an alcoholic before the season's over. I couldn't do it. And then don't get me started on football season. I just constantly just drink.
Well, hopefully next year,
no, that's Auburn and Kentucky's like motto. There's always next year, and they always suck.
Well, you got something to look forward to. I mean, y'all got the number 1 draft pick, so at Tennessee Titans, and you.
Oh yeah, that's another thing, man. I love pro sports too.
Hopefully, y'all get y'all a decent player.
We're gonna screw it up and draft. Dude, the quarterbacks this year is atrocious.
Come on now,
dude. If you put Shedeur Samuels, they're saying he's not even a first rounder anymore. They're saying they're saying he's a second round draft pick. And then Cam Ward's good, but if you put him in last year's draft, he would be a second rounder.
Yeah.
So I'm over here. I want the Abdul Carter kid from Penn State because he's a monster.
Maybe you get him.
And pay some Aaron Rodgers to come down and finish his retirement series down in Titans. I'd rather do that than draft one of them dudes. Anyways, that's neither. I know that's neither here. We got the money. That's neither because we got no other players to pay. But anyways, man, let's get back to it tonight, man. We have a good friend of ours of the show, Mr. Travis Murphy from the great state of West Virginia. He's hanging out there in John, Denver with the Golden Blue Barbecue. He's fun fact, man. Whenever I first got into the barbecue game, and I do what everybody else does and watch a bunch of YouTube stuff, I actually found Mr. Murphy's YouTube page, and that's kind of what got me going. I followed him quite heavily, so it's great to have him on. So without further ado, let's bring on our guest tonight, Mr. Travis Murphy. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, guys?
What's up, man? How's things going in the great state of West Virginia?
A little cold right now. We're not getting the rain like you guys, but parts of the state is. But us flatlanders up here close to DC, we're not getting all that rain. So
yeah, how far are you from DC? You're not.
We're not far, about an hour and a half.
Dude, you're up there with our favorite girl. What's her name? She's on TLC. The Wind It Up.
I don't watch TV unless it's Coco Melon or Bluey, man.
You ain't right, man.
Dude, she's from West Virginia, close to DC, so I bet they're right next to you. Yeah, Wind It Up. I love that girl. My wife's like, "Why are you watching that show?" But no, man. So, how's things going? Like I said, how's your off season been? You got anything riled up?
No, we kind of had a pretty quiet off season. We ended last year in October, and we kind of brought the smokers home, and we really haven't touched them. We might have touched the pellet smoker once or twice, just doing.
I know we got,
but man, we haven't even done a practice cook or anything. So we've got something.
Thank God. Up. I'm so happy I'm not the only one that's.
We never do it. If you want me to be honest, since 2018 when we started, we don't practice at all in the off season. All season is strictly family time and time to hang out with family and just unwind and not even do anything barbecue really. So
yep,
I know. I say that, and then whenever I start getting back in the swing of things, I'm like, man, I miss this so much. The first ones you're always like, I don't know what I'm doing. I forget 10,000 things. I'm borrowing things from AJ. I'm borrowing things from random people.
Yeah, we always used past couple of years. We've been using the smoke competition down there outside of Nashville is like our dust off competition. But
yeah,
we're not doing that this year.
Yeah, I got. Well, thank you for giving us a chance, man. Yeah, us Tennesseans, man. We need all the help we get. Are you going to come down for them? Oh no, because you're cooking pro this year. I would say I know you qualify for the invitational, but are you going to cook the backyard invitational?
No, we haven't done the invitational in 2 years now. Last one we did was in it was the one in Alabama.
Alabama. Oh, and Oneonta.
No, the one at Gaston.
Yeah,
3 years ago.
Gaston. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, we haven't done one since then.
I got you. Man, so hey, for the people who don't know, Travis, let's start off like we start off every podcast known to man. Tell people who you are and how you got started with Golden Blue Barbecue.
Yeah, so Golden Blue's Barbecue got started in 2018. Kind of a way for myself and my wife and our two families just kind of get together and have fun. We've been smoking kind of off and on in the backyard, just kind of having fun. And just like everybody else, Barbecue Pit Masters was a big thing, and got kind of fun. And we're big about stuff in the state of West Virginia. And there's a little town in West Virginia called it's Buchanan now, but they had an event called the Almost Heaven Barbecue Bash, and it was held at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, which if you've never seen it, check it out. It's been on Ghost Hunters and a bunch of those ghost shows. But
that's awesome.
We happened to see about it when we were traveling the state, just kind of doing what we usually used to do on the weekends. We're like, man, we should just bring the smoker down here and get that. And at the time, my father-in-law had just bought a big trailer rig. This thing's a beast. So I'm like, oh, man, we got like a pro rig. Let's go down here and see what we're about. So we roll in. We looked the part, but, man, we stunk it up. And I look back at those boxes, and it was like, wow, what were we doing back then? But, man, we caught the bug. We didn't get any calls in the competition. We were, like, dead last and everything. But we did get, like, a second-place chicken wing call, which, that was all it took. We were hooked. So 2018, we did that one, and we did another one in West Virginia. Finished pretty good in it. So next year, 2019, did a couple more, and one thing led to another. And I think the height of our career was 2021. I think we did 32 contests. Then we've kind of backed down, and I think we're averaging right between 15 and 20 now, and we're looking at 11 for 2025. Of course, love to do more, but going pro, you got to cut back a little bit. So
it gets a little pricey, man. It gets a little pricey. So you're a two-man team, right? You cook with your father?
Yeah. So when we started out in 2018, it was myself and my wife were kind of the team leads, and then our parents were just kind of support group and helped with all the other ancillary contests and putting the boxes together and just doing what we wanted. I guess it was about 2020, 2021. My wife just thought she could do better than I could because we were getting to the point. She had an idea, I had an idea, and we had a hard time figuring out who wanted to do what idea. And her dad was kind of really starting to get involved with it too, and we thought it would be a good way for her to kind of split off and have some one-on-one time with her parents, and then me to kind of split off with my dad and have some good one-on-one time with my dad. So then with the kids getting thrown into the picture the past couple of years, it's good because now one of us can go and compete and the other person can stay home with the kids. So it works out. There's a couple contests every year where we both sign up for them, and we get the whole family and all the kids there, and between two campers, we make it work. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. Sure.
Barbecue, like I said, when it becomes a family environment, it definitely makes things less stressful for like people like me and AJ, because our wives stay at home with the kids for the most part, and apparently that's not very fun for them. I don't know. I have a great time. But
there's a whole new level of stress when everybody at that competition is rooting against you and rooting for your wife.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
And there's a constant stream of other cooks going to her campsite, giving her tips and checking her out rather than everybody helping me. Yeah, that's a whole different level of stress. Man, I wouldn't trade it. That's a blast.
I bet, man. So, man, tell us what kind of smokers you got, man, from the time you started to, now. Man, how has it changed?
So, 2018, we ran our trailer pit. It's a Sling and Still Ultra Game Day, which Logan, you might know Sling and Still. They're down from around Kentucky.
I know exactly who they are.
Yep. So we still have that. That's what we started on. We ran that the entire first year. Halfway through 2019, I was having trouble with chicken, and I've been watching a bunch of videos, and I built my first ugly drum. Started running that, so then we ran the Sling and Still and the ugly drum. Really like the ugly drum, so 2020. I'm sure those of you that's on our YouTube and follow us know all about the T drum.
Mm-hmm.
So winter of 2020, I put together that T drum, partnered up with UDSparts.com, and we knocked that thing out. Hell, we ran that T drum. That thing blew up on social media and stuff.
It's awesome.
It is. That is one of the most insane, fun cookers just to have around. We ran that for 2 years with 2 other ugly drums, and we actually retired it 2 years ago. We started running a Green Mountain Grill ledge in place of that. Mainly because running 3 smokers, we knew we were going to be going pro. We just wanted to start transitioning something to make it a little easier on us. So that's why we incorporated the pellet smoker. Plus, as cool as that T-drum is, that thing is finicky, man. It cooks even. Don't get me wrong. It cooks great, but that thing is just finicky as all hell. And it runs great when it wants to run great. But, man, if it wants to fight you, you're going to be fighting it the whole time. Which isn't bad for doing some ribs or some pork butt in the backyard. But anybody that's competed, if you're fighting a cooker, that's just going to cause more added stress that you don't need. So,
yeah, sure.
Miss having that on the trail because, man, that is a fun conversation piece. And we had so many people stop in and check that thing out. But we still have it back in the background. You're going to see it this year with some upcoming YouTube videos I got planned. But going into this year, we're going to be running a brand new Green Mountain Grill Trek 2.0. Ledge 2.0. We're still going to be running our one ugly drum smoker from UDS Parts for our chicken. And then last year we started working with a 30-gallon UDS for brisket. So that's what we run on our brisket on. So 2 drums and a Green Mountain pellet.
There you go. That's the exact same setup I got, minus the Green Mountain. I got the Lone Star. But I'm glad you brought up the YouTube stuff, man, because like I told, in our intro, way I discovered Travis is when I first got into this barbecue thing. I was like anything else, just trying to consume as much, barbecue knowledge. And lo and behold, I stumbled upon your YouTube channels and watched. I watched all your videos, and I think I've sent you some messages and even asked you for some advice, man. And like so, you kind of helped me out.
I helped you come up with your logo and gave you some feedback on your logo.
You did, man. You sure did, man. I appreciated it, and I respect you ever since. But I'll tell about how that kind of got going. You just kind of like me, just like just put stuff out there and help you remember stuff, or you just kind of want to have fun with it.
There's a good friend up here, and if y'all watch a lot of barbecue videos on YouTube, you probably know who I'm talking about. Steve Dotson, the cookout coach on YouTube, another West Virginia boy. He started in 2018 when I started, so we just became really good friends. And I like following his page, and I thought that was kind of cool. And when we first really started taking this seriously, I knew that a big part of being able to do what we do would be sponsorship. And I don't like to toot my own horn, but I'm really good working with businesses and sponsors. And I knew if you have a good and successful YouTube page, you don't have to have thousands and thousands of followers, but if you just have at least 1,000 or more, that's going to look good, and you can make a case for some smaller end sponsors at least. So part of the YouTube page was planning ahead for us going pro to start working with sponsors on getting some of their product out, promotional stuff for them. Plus, when we did the T-drum, the big thing with UDS Parts was doing the videos with the T-drum. So really, that YouTube video was a necessity to get UDS to come on board with the T-drum build. And I haven't done anything with it in a few years, just because we've been trying to get our one son taken care of. But man, I'm excited to get back into the YouTube thing this year. I had a lot more videos up. We used to do a follow-up after every contest.
I watched those.
I used to put the results and everything up on there, and I used to do my own show, which a lot of people used to follow, the Backyard Barbecue Break. I had all those episodes and stuff up there, but since then I've deleted all of them just to kind of clean up the YouTube page and kind of make it more streamlined. But so yeah, that's where we're at. So hopefully we'll get some more content out this year, because I've had a lot of people asking me to get some more stuff out. So
and that's always a good gateway to go to, man, is YouTube and search and stuff. But man, so what? I guess explain what drove you to go pro this year. I mean, what was your biggest reason of coming from backyard to switching over to pro?
So when we first started in 2018, I know you guys, especially you, AJ, you guys are used to a big backyard scene in your regions where you compete. Right. In our region, backyard was not that big. It might have had, a big competition for backyard here would have been like 10, 12, maybe even 15 teams. It just wasn't small. You had maybe one or two other guys that you might have seen more than once a year. So we always kind of hated that aspect, that you didn't have any sort of really camaraderie with people, because it was just your local guys at most of the competitions. So our goal was to help build the backyard scene in the Mid-Atlantic region. That was our first goal. So there was a small group of us, myself, Chris Shriver with brother and uncle, of course, Steve Dotson, Chris Lemon. There was a whole group of people that really helped build backyard into what backyard is in the Mid-Atlantic now. A big backyard competition in our region now is 40 to 45 backyard teams. A small competition is 20. So goal one for me was to help grow the backyard scene. We always wanted to be one of those teams that when we became that team who can show up at a contest, and more than likely we're going to at least get our name called consecutively every competition. Yeah, I was that guy. I would go to a competition and I was the guy that was never getting calls, watching somebody else get the call. Well, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing because we all know, money plays a factor into being backyard and stuff. For us, it just was not a thing we ever wanted to be. We didn't want to be that team that everybody's just trying to beat every year. We want to give the next guy up. And in our region, we kind of built the backyard scene up to be a stepping stone into build and continue to make the Master Series successful. You look at the Mid-Atlantic. The past couple of years, we've had teams like Poor Boys, Optimus Swine, David Dick, Steve. We've had a lot of teams that have been really successful in backyard. They have a really good run after that season. They step back up into pro, and they're very successful in pro side. So it's kind of a conglomeration that it's what we wanted to do, as well as it's kind of just become the way here in the Mid-Atlantic now. And I'm not saying all the teams that get really good are going to do that, but it's just become a really good kind of stepping stone in our region that you step on up once you get to that point. And I feel especially after 2023 that we were that team, but we ended up running last year in backyard also, just because we wanted to do strictly 3-meet contests to work on a pork program. So if it wouldn't have been for that, we were probably ready to move up to pro last year, but we didn't.
So, well, like you said, making the jump from backyard to pro, it's something. I mean, every backyarder. I mean, once you reach a certain level of success, I mean, they'd be lying if they said they didn't think about making the jump. What for you, like since you've been practicing, what for you has been the most difficult challenge? Because I mean, obviously, chicken and ribs, the backyard scene now is just on par with anybody in the pros for the most part, the upper echelon. For sure. But what was the hardest part, like making protein for you to tackle to kind of get you ready for the pro side?
As far as cooking wise, believe it or not, ribs, man, our ribs is still our Achilles heel. Last year we competed in 8 competitions that were 3-meat with pork. And out of those 8, we had, I think, 4 first place, with 2 of them being a 180. So we're doing really good on pork. So that's not a question. We think we're really dialed in with that. We've cooked brisket 4 times now for KCBS, and all 4 times we've been in the 170s with brisket. So we feel good with that. But man, our ribs, I don't know what it is, but it seems like we get consistent. We don't change anything, and then we're back in the low 160s again. So for us, it's just not necessarily to adding the big meats. For us, it's trying to just continue our consistency on the ribs. I'm in that boat that I will always argue that ribs is the hardest protein to cook out of all 4 of them. From one rack to the next, there's so many variables. I just think ribs is the toughest thing to cook. So for me, if we can get our ribs dialed in, I'll feel fine. But going into 2025, ribs is still my biggest concern.
Preach on, preacher. Me and you both, man. That's been my last year. I've tried to shig all I could off AJ and Hunt and anybody who didn't like their trailer. I did everything I possibly could to shig on the ribs, and the ribs it's a tough protein. I feel like because I mean I feel that way because the other proteins. I mean, there's a little more give to it. With ribs, though, I feel like, man, it's like once you you got to find that sweet spot because there's like I was talking to AJ before the show and talking about the ribs because tenderness is the king in ribs. I mean, everybody's flavors are pretty good. It's you got to nail that tenderness, and tenderness is like once you get to that pro tender, push it another 20 minutes. Like really, you damn near got to flirt with mush. I mean, you got to walk that line of between mush and pro tender to really hit that sweet spot. And people like AJ and you, or AJ and Hunt and Weeze and all those guys that are, top team in the ribs. They found their little sweet spot, and it's once you get there, it's not that hard. But I feel like for people like maybe me and maybe you, finding that sweet spot and consistency is the hard part.
Yeah, it's weird because 2023, when we made our big backyard team of the year run that year, we were consistent on ribs. We finished the season top 10 in ribs overall, top 10 in chicken. And it's like last year, man, it's like we just could not get it consistent. We'd have like a really good call for 2 weeks, and then we'd go like a 3-week run where we were just trying to figure out what changed, even though nothing changed. It's just, and we're cooking ribs on our smoker now, so I know our temp's consistent. It's not a temperature fluctuation thing, but I will always argue ribs by far is the toughest protein to nail.
No doubt. I mean, chicken's gonna be chicken. Pork, you cook it to its tender, it's gonna be good. You can kind of, like Logan said, it's a little leeway there in brisket, but ribs, man, you got to nail them. It's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Do you feel like the finishing on ribs it's more important than the other proteins, like the actual, like how you finish the ribs versus, because chicken, you're gonna sprinkle your dust or whatever and do your thing pretty consistently. Ribs, I feel like it's such a variance of, like, I run the same rib program, and like I'll take one, I'll do the tester, and it changes for me, like for comp to comp. Well, this one's really salty, or this one's a little on the sweeter side, and like knowing how to make those adjustments is something that I'm working on, trying to learn. Versus like chicken, they're all pretty much the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the way my dad and I operate, like, we don't make changes. Like, we haven't changed our chicken program since 2022. We're running dang near the exact same thing we ran in 2022 because it works. If we start getting some weird comments or our flavor starts fluctuating, we'll make a small change, but we don't make big changes. Consistency is a big thing. Anybody that does this knows if you're not consistent, you're just going to be fighting yourself. I know teams that go out for a double, they get a bad day one. Well, day two, they're changing their entire soft profile. They're changing what rubs they're using. They're changing what internal temps they're going to. Well, of course, they don't do good. Well, then the next time they go out, they're still trying something new. You just gotta admit the fact you're going to have a bad table from time to time. You put that chicken on another table at a different comp. Well, you're back up where you usually are.
Right.
So we don't make those knee-jerk reactions. That's like ribs. We fought ourselves all last year on ribs, and it wasn't a flavor or a profile thing. It was 100% a tenderness thing that we were fighting. And part of that is just our stubbornness about changing and consistency. We didn't want to change too much at one given time going into a competition. So from one comp to the next, we might try a different internal temperature or a different probe feel, a different way to rest it. We might rest bone side up instead of bone side down and try that. But really, it was just we were searching, and last year and in 2023, and like I said, 2023 we did really good. We ran Allegiant ribs, so it's not like we were running Prairie Fresh Primes this week and Allegiants next week, or we were running Prairie Fresh Naturals one week and Primes next. We're running consistent quality meat, consistent stuff. It's just I don't know what our deal was. I don't know if it was, and I don't know y'all that's in the flatland, you don't have to deal with the elevation changes, but where we compete, you might be 2,000 feet above sea level at one comp, and you might be at sea level the next comp.
Right.
Yeah.
So it makes a difference.
That's a great aspect to lean into right there, because people who don't cook as much as we do, or kind of nerded out on barbecue as we do, don't understand like the elevation plays a ginormous factor in like how your cooks go. And West Virginia is one of those weird states, like you said, is like very mountainous. And by the way, I don't know how in the hell you get to some of the contests you do. Like y'all have the super duty diesel trucks to pull them trailers. Like I would pee myself. Like I freak out going over Mount Eagle. I can imagine doing some of these West Virginia comps. But the variance you have to go certain altitudes. Do you factor that into your cook on, because it definitely takes a lot longer the higher you go to get to certain areas?
So really, there's only one place we've competed at that will factor that in. For the most part, I don't see that big of a change. But whenever we go to Galax, Virginia, the few times we've been down there, that's like 3,000, 3,500 feet above sea level, and it's a good like 2,200 feet higher than where our average range is.
Mm-hmm.
We usually will add an additional like 20 minutes to our cook time. I don't change temps, but I'll add some time to it. But anytime we get in there, I will always put my stuff on 15 to 20 minutes early. And it's funny because the last time we had it at its old venue, we had a bunch of Alabama teams came up. Pat and Russ and a bunch of those good guys. They all came up from Alabama, and we tried to warn them like, hey, you're at a higher elevation than you usually compete at. You need to factor that in. Well, it was a double. Day one, they didn't factor that in, and they all got hammered. So I don't think it's as much as a play if you're not going from extreme to extreme. But if you're going, I think, more than like 2,000 feet, you definitely need to be aware of it.
Yeah. Well, it's like talking to, our other co-host, Rusty. He's up there in Utah. And, they're just like you, the elevation plays a huge factor. It's like talking, to non-competitors that, are listening or watching the show. Like, that's why you see like your favorite YouTubers, your favorite people on barbecue, they're in Texas or they're in, Nevada or, Florida. I mean, and you can't go off their recipe and their timeline per se, because you have to factor in where you are. Because like they're in, Texas, they don't have to worry about or moisture, factor or something like that. So if you're in, up high West Virginia or you're, Utah up in the mountains, like you can't get that kind of moisture level unless you really force it in there. It's just a factor that a lot of people don't, take into consideration in their cooks.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's, a lot of teams run a water pan, and that there's a misconception about water pans. I personally don't run a water pan, but the whole premise of running a water pan is not to add moisture into your meat, because really, you look at all the scientific data that backs up running a water pan does not add any extra moisture into your meat.
That's
all
injection.
That does is give you 100% humidity in your cooker every time you cook. So regardless of what your outside humidity is, you are always running at 100% humidity. So that's one factor that you are now wiping off every time you cook. So
that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
That is now a controlled factor that you don't have to factor in. So
that's so let's talk about your proteins. Like, what proteins you cook on which grill? Or do you do like the hybrid method? You start all your proteins on a can and move over? Or?
No. So we do on brisket. So we'll start with chicken. Chicken, we have a drum we made, and that's been our chicken drum for 5 years now. I will never run chicken on anything else other than that. It's on there the whole cook. Ribs we're running on a Green Mountain Grill ledge on top rack. Pork butts we're running on the same Green Mountain Grill on the bottom rack. And then brisket we're running on a 30-gallon drum. We're running it on the drum until we wrap it, and then once it's wrapped, we move it over onto the Green Mountain to finish it.
Do you think that certain grills, because we talked about this on other guests on our show, do you feel like certain grills do better in certain proteins than others? Like for me, for instance, I think chicken on a can is the only way to go. That's going to give you the best chance to win chicken. Ribs, I really like a pellet rib, but I mean, I like the hybrid method of starting the ribs on a can and then bring them over to the pellet, because the pellet, especially once you wrap them, you turn it into an easy bake oven and just takes the fluctuations you get in the can out of the equation.
Yeah, sure. So I completely agree. I think if you want to be a consistent chicken cook, your best bet to do that is running a chicken on a can. And I will even maybe throw in a Rectech Bullseye with that, just because the way they cook. I know a lot of good teams, which, John Wade's on the chat. I'm pretty sure he's one of the teams that's doing that. But I know a lot of successful chicken teams that's running on a Bullseye. But I think, especially with thighs, you need that direct blast of heat to render that fat on the skin. I don't think you're ever going to get it on a reverse flow or an offset or gravity. Yes, I'm sure there's teams out there that's going to prove me wrong, but it's a lot easier for me to put my chicken on for a half hour uncovered on that can and get it the same exact way every time than I think you're going to have with an offset or something else. Ribs, I don't know. I think you can put out a good rib on anything. As far as the smoke flavor and smoke ring goes, I haven't seen a difference going. We used to run our ribs on the drum, and we ran it on that Sling and Steel custom smoker.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen any difference. I feel like I get just as much smoke off the pellet grill as I do off the can. Now, one reason we are running the pellet smoker with ribs is when we switched to a Legion. I don't know if it was just the fat content in them. I could never get my rubs to set. I don't know if it was just the amount of added moisture in those ribs, and I'm not running gateways. I'm running all my own drums, and I don't know if it was just the way my drums were designed. I wasn't moving enough air through them, but I always struggled getting them to set when we started running Allegiant ribs. So that was part of the reason I put them on the pellet smoker, just because we wanted that convection action to help set the rub, which fixed that problem. So. But really, I think chicken is really the only protein I think you could argue that one smoker probably has an advantage.
I don't know. I feel like the outlaw, the offset guys, I think brisket, I always you always see the top brisket teams in the country. I feel like it's usually on like an outlaw or Jambo type smoker. I feel like those smokers put out some of the, for that protein, I feel like it gives them a leg up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird up in our region. We've got a lot of teams running outlaws. We've got a lot of teams running Rectex, and then we've got, till this day, probably one of the best briskets I ever had came off of a char griller from Steve Dotson from the Cookout Coach. So, I mean, that was just one of the char griller. I don't even know what model it was, but it was their offset that they put out, and that thing, till this day, is probably still the best brisket I've ever had. So I've tasted briskets off of Rectex that tasted just as good as the ones that I've tried off the Outlaws. I think a lot of it is just knowing your smoker and knowing your system. And once you get it dialed in, if you put a Rectex brisket on one table and you put an Outlaw brisket on another table cooked by the people that's actually getting the calls with them, I would challenge you to tell me which one came off of what.
Sure. Yeah, well, that's a misconception. A lot of people think that are not in the competition game that we're trying to throw as much smoke as we possibly can at on these proteins, and in reality, it's a very light, coating of smoke that we're trying to put on these things. And I know a lot of people that just run straight charcoal, like no wood chunks or no wood splits or anything like that in theirs.
Do you all run any smoke blocks on your chicken?
No.
I run straight charcoal.
Yeah, chicken straight charcoal. Ribs, throw what, probably two chunks?
Yeah, about two.
Of like pecan.
Yeah, I just do like one.
Whenever I get off the pellets, is what I do.
Yeah, well, I started mine last year on the pellet, my Lone Star pellet grill. And I think I ran straight pecan all last year. But this year I'm going to the hybrid method. That's where I start off having the best luck, and I'm going to go back to the hybrid because there's something about, I don't know. I think we're in the can country down here in the South. I feel like different regions are expect the different flavor you get off the meats. I think just down in the South, everybody's just, all these judges, they want that can grill flavor. So I mean, whatever, feed the people whatever they want. I'm gonna try to give it to them, but because they sure did hate me last year. I don't know, man. I don't know. So what do you run, thighs or legs, or have you ran both, and why do you like one over the other?
I'm a thigh team. I've never run legs, so I couldn't tell you the difference, but I don't know. We struggle with chicken, and then like one thing just clicked, and ever since then, our average chicken score is about a 175, 176, consistently. We always kind of like to, think that we're probably one of the better thigh cooks in the nation as far as at least the backyard teams go. You look at a lot of teams that's beating us. Most of them are running legs now.
Mm-hmm.
I would not shy down about going up against any team out there with our chicken thighs. And that's not that we probably would never run legs. It's just our program and our consistency with Thaz is just so good that I have no desire to even play with legs right now. But like I said, there's a lot of teams, at least in our region, that are running legs, and it's tough to beat a good chicken leg. So
yeah. Well, AJ, for instance, I mean, AJ, you made a switch for completely last year, wasn't it? One last year, your first chicken leg.
Yeah. The end of April, we couldn't find any thighs, and they had some pretty legs, and we tried it and got hammered the first time, got hammered the second time. And that was day one on day two, completely changed recipe, and man, just been running that recipe ever since. And haven't had a 180 since that point, and we got 4 180s since May running legs.
Yeah, the legs. I'll tell you the difference between thighs and legs about an hour of prep.
Yeah.
That's one thing I hate. I run thighs myself. And one thing I hate is like how many packs of, because you're a Springer Mountain guy like us, your team Springer Mountain like me and AJ. Yep. How many packs of Springers you got to go through to get? Because how many you cook? 16 or 12 at a time?
We do 12.
Yeah, 12. That's what I do. How many packs of chicken you go through to get 12?
I will get 4 packs of chicken, and from that 4 packs, I will get 12.
So 16 chicken thighs. So are you getting 4 packs, or you getting the bigger?
4 packs. I can get 12 out of 16 pieces.
Are you weighing them all around like 5 ounces or something like that, or a little
5 ounces, give or take 0.2 ounce.
Where in the hell are you finding 12 thighs? Dude, I'm not kidding you. I buy chicken thighs by the case where I am, and I'll go through half a case to get 12 thighs. And one time, I'm not kidding you, I got 14 thighs out of a case of chicken.
Jeez. Yeah, I don't know.
They were thin last year a little bit.
Like what we get up here, we don't get actual Springer Mountain branded stuff. We have to get Nature's Promise from like Food Lion or Martin's, which is Springer Mountain. But we usually get, and I'm talking myself and my wife because she runs the same size chicken thighs we do. But both of us have usually, if we get 4 packs, we can usually both get 12 thighs out of 4 packs. I try to find 2.5 pound packs. At least if it's under 2 pounds, I don't even waste my time because you're not going to have enough meat and weight in there to even make it worth your while. Anything bigger than 2.5 usually it's going to be one really big thigh and a bunch of small ones. Yeah. But for me, I've found if you can get 2.5 pound packs, it's at least a 4 pack. Then that's kind of been the best route for us. It seems like I don't know how, maybe it's the sorting machines they use to package them, how they're set up. But it seems like if you can get a 4 pack that's about 2.5 pounds, you're going to get 4 thighs that are about half a pound each. So.
Dude, I hate that. You're trimming thighs and you got it down to a certain weight, and then you look at the bone and that thing's like this. It's like you got to stare at the bowling alley. I'm like, damn it. This is the fat one of the bunch, and you have to do this to me.
Right.
Maybe I'm weird. I don't mind trimming chicken thighs, man. I put on some Celtic rock music, and it takes me like 2 minutes to knock out a thigh.
Celtic rock music.
Dude, that's my jam, man. Put on some like Flogging Molly and Dropkick Murphys.
All right, yeah. I like those too. I think I've seen your videos. I think you trimming your thighs. I love how we all do that. We trim thighs, and we're like, if I'm going to suffer, you're going to watch me suffer.
No, I don't mind it, and it's probably because I don't scrape my skin like a lot of people. So I just kind of, if it's got a really thick fat pocket, I just kind of hack it off a little bit. But I don't waste time scraping. I just trim it up, cut the meat down, and put skin back on, and call it a day.
So not trying to steal too many of your secrets, but so when you're trimming your thigh, are you you're nicking the knuckle? Are you taking that oyster? Are you taking that vein out too, or are you leaving that in?
If it's there and easily accessible, I'll take it out, but I'm not going to go in causing more damage to the protein structure to find it. So I'll cut the oyster off, and if that vein is there to where I can easily grab it, it's coming out. If not, it's staying. So
I feel like when you pull that vein out, it makes it like it's like a floppy. It's like a floppy thigh. Like that vein kind of gives us some structure.
Yeah, my thought on that too. I've watched teams that go in there and they're I don't want to say they're hacking it up, but them poking and prodding trying to get the vein out. It's like they're breaking all the protein and the muscle structure. They're breaking it down, and then they're pulling it off the bone and everything. So if it's not there, I don't go looking for it because I want to keep the integrity of that muscle structure up to that bone as best I can.
Right.
Let's talk about your ribs. Let's go and move on down the line, man. We're talking trimming. Yeah, let's talking trimming.
Sure. I mean,
how many racks you cooking, and like what's your bones you looking like per rack?
Right.
So like I said, the past 2 years we've been running Allegiant ribs. I really like them. The bone structure on Allegiants were great. I would say probably 90% of the racks were pretty dang straight. They weren't bad. This year we're switching to Chairman's Reserve ribs, and I haven't really played with them a whole lot, but from what I've seen from our supplier, our supplier ran this past couple years as well with us. Shout out to Benny Ray Flint with Country Boys. But looking at them side by side, man, I'm excited for ribs this year. I think the rib itself is going to be a better product as far as the consistency. Nothing against Allegiance, but it just seems like you get like a whole case where you had a fat end. I'm not talking on the bone end, but at the top of the bone it'd be really fat, but then it was like pencil thin at the bottom. It just wasn't a consistent thickness. But we haven't seen that with the Chairman's Reserves this year. So excited to run them this year.
So I mean, do you ever try running Prairie Fresh, or I mean, you're just not a fan of them?
No, we've tried Prairie Fresh. Problem for us around here, Prairie Fresh is just kind of hard to find. You might find naturals every now and then, but my thought is if I can't find something that I'm going to get consistently week in and week out, I don't want to run it in my program.
True.
So that was part of the reason we ran Allegiance. Denny Ray Flint with Country Boys is one of our sponsors. His restaurant deals with performance food groups, so he was always able to get us the same ribs every time we needed them. And he's getting us Chairman's Reserve this year, so excited about that deal. So, and that's more just knowing I can get what I need when I need it instead of trying to drive all over hell and tarnation trying to find Prairie Fresh Naturals or something.
So when you're let's talk about your ribs. So when you go to the grocery store and you're looking at their ribs, what's the most important thing to you? Is it the marbling? Is it the thickness, like the even thickness? Is it the bone structure? Like what are you? I mean, obviously you want the trifecta, but let's be honest, that's a lottery ticket.
I think first and foremost needs to be your marbling. I think that's priority one. Then after that, thickness. You don't want to get too thin. I don't think the thickness is that big of an issue, except for getting too thin. But I think marbling by far, you want a really good marbled rib. It's going to give you a little more content, fat content to keep from drying out. And then bone structure, you can cheat some of that in the way you trim your rib. So, or if you're running if you don't have enough bones to put in one box off of one rib, you can put a crappy looking rack in the back and have it with a good looking rack up front. So bone structure is important, but if it's a really nice marbled rack that's really uniform on thickness, I'm going to run it. And if the bones are crooked, guess what? They're getting crooked ribs. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
So,
what do you like when you're trimming your ribs at the end? Everybody, we want those, beautiful symmetrical looking ribs. What are you running? So last year I saw a theme. I feel like a lot of people were running. I feel like boxes. Are you running the typical stacked 8 or 4 and 4? Are you doing 5 and 1 or what? What do you like to do?
It's kind of a game time decision for me, based on what I've got. First and foremost, I try to run all my bones off of one rack, and a lot of that is just for the feedback. If you run 2 racks and you're getting feedback on tenderness, well, what rack did that judge have? So whereas if I'm running the same bones off all one rack, I can relate all the comments and feedback to that tenderness that I knew was in that box. Primarily, I like to run 6 bones across, not stacked, not anything. You can go on my Facebook page and see some of them. That's what I shoot for. I want one 6-bone presentation left to right. If I can't do that, I might put a show bone on the front, put 5 and then 1 on the front, and then stacked way. My least popular, but if I got to stack 4 and 4 or 3 on 3, I'll do that. So
I got you. How many racks you run a contest?
We run 3.
3?
Yep.
I need to start. I had my best luck when I ran 3, but I need
you can't get 6 bones off of 3 racks. At least in my mind, then I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
I know I'm doing something wrong.
And the judges agree.
Every time. They agree every single time.
But a lot of that's also necessity, with the other proteins we're cooking, you just got to look at how much space you have to work with. And if we had to run 4 racks, well, now we're kind of having to refigure how we're cooking everything now. So running 3 racks on the top shelf of the Green Mountain now opens up the whole bottom rack for 2 butts and a brisket when we wrap it. So
I got you. Well, now, man, like so, I'm gonna give you a free moment to shout out your one of your sponsors. But your sponsor, you have a rub company that sponsors you, don't you? Or are you still running with them this year?
Yeah, so we're actually sponsored by 2 different rub companies. One of them, Utz's Rubs and Sauces. Man, Mike Utz is just cool. He's kind of local to us, but he's been around for a long time. Been with us since the early days. We were really the first competition team that kind of started messing with him, and now I know a bunch of competition teams in our area that's running him. One of them's in the Chatleen and Jowler competition. They're sponsored by him this year. A lot of competition teams have caught on to the hype of Utz Rubs. He's got a whole line of rubs, but the cool thing with Mike, he's not a competition guy. He's a caterer, but he's got a honey rub and a maple rub that will just knock your socks off. And I know a lot of teams that's running both of those rubs right now. So, so Mike's been with us from the beginning, and then the past 2 years we've been working kind of behind the scenes with Phil Breeden from LC BBQ. And then this year he started an actual sponsorship thing, and we were fortunate enough to be one of the teams selected. So, been praising the hype of LC BBQ, especially the injections. There you go. It's got the rawhide. Everything Phil puts out is just phenomenal. Hen drench. We don't run hen drench, but man, we run the heck out of Rainmaker and Foul Play. But
That's Foul Play.
Yeah. Okay. So Phil's stuff is just phenomenal. If you haven't tried any of LC BBQ's product, I will say certified rub on chicken is take that for what it's worth. Phil's injections I think are some of the best out there, and then his rubs are great. But that's all we run is just LC BBQ and Works. So
I got you, man. What's your opinion on? So, like, I feel like sometimes with ribs, especially, I'm trying to give my ribs a little thing of pizzazz. Like, AJ, I want to ask you this as well. Certain companies have like a maple rub, a cherry rub, like Heath Rowell says, everything under the sun rub, like all the different flavors. And I mean, I'm sure he's coming out with a Dr. Pepper rub here soon or something. I don't know. But like, what's your opinion on like those like very flavor specific rubs on some of your proteins? Are you a fan, or do you kind of like more of the wide range, stereotypical barbecue flavored rubs?
Man, I think you gotta be careful. I mean, I think there's a place for those rubs. So like maple, prime example for us, Works, his maple and his honey rub. We run it heavy, but we also run it in a place where it's not going to be overbearing, or it's going to be one of those flavors that really stands out. Be like, oh, is that maple? There's judges out there that they can pick out maple, and that's not a flavor that they kind of enjoy. Which is kind of weird because everybody thinks, add more maple syrup to it, but you can get too much maple flavor on something. Personally, I think honey is a much more mellow flavor than maple. So like Utz's honey rub, I bet we go through a shaker of that every weekend if we do a double, just because of how heavy we run it. We run it heavy on pork. I think if you run like a pork flavor or a maple or a honey flavored rub on pork, I think you got more leadway to run it heavy just because you have more fat there to kind of knock it down a little bit. But you can get too sweet, so you got to be careful with that. But that's where you got to be smart when you go to your finishing. If you think something's a little too sweet, hit it with something that's a little hot to kind of counterbalance it. So,
what do you think like your honey rub, like as far as your finishing, what is your flavor profile and like when your finishing does? Are you looking for more like a spicy sweet? Are you looking for more just like a sweet? Or some people, I know a lot of people honestly just use straight kosher salt on their finishing them.
I don't mix up a finishing dust. Our finishing dust is straight up fine ground sea salt, not even kosher. We just go sea salt route. That's what we run as a finishing dust on all proteins. Now, I do keep a bottle of Utz's Bold, which those of people that have tried Utz's Bold could probably all agree that if you like smoking guns hot, Utz Bold. If you try the two side by side, you will pick Utz Bold. It's a much better flavor, but I keep a shaker of Utz Bold, and if I think something's a little too sweet, I'll just hit it with a little bit of that Utz Bold for a little bit of that heat. But as far as our flavor profile goes, man, we're kind of weird in our region. We're like that one team that it's not like everybody else. We're very savory on our flavors, which is weird because like I try everybody else's food and it's good, but it's so different from what we run. I kind of shoot for that savory with a sweet finish with a little kiss of heat. That's kind of what I look for. But yeah, our stuff is really savory forward, which works most of the time. But then you hit that one or two judges that they just don't like it. But for us, it keeps working, so we stick with it.
You know, it's funny. Like I hear judges. You know, I always try to talk to judges a little bit after the contest and whatnot, or just in general, and ask them certain questions. And like I can tell you how many judges I say, you know, they want something different. You know, they're tired of Blues Hog everything, you know. And I'm like, and what I always tell those people is like, well, I mean, when Blues Hog sauces and stuff like the similar sauces we all use stop hitting, then that's when we'll stop using them. Right. But I feel like judges, like, they want something different, but they're all very set in their profile lanes. And I mean, let's be honest, a lot of the judges now are on the older side, so their flavor profiles aren't as, you know.
So a little fun fact: I don't use a single product from Blues Hog.
Yeah, well, that's. I mean, that's probably gives you a leg up, honestly.
I run all Head Country sauces.
Yeah,
I think the consistency is just as good, but for me, one perk for me for Head Country is I don't have to strain my sauce after I mix it. You know, Blues Hog has a lot of chili pepper flake and other big chunks of different spices. You know, Head Country's already filtered out, so you know I mix my sauce up, it's ready to run. But I don't know if that's given me kind of an advantage for those judges because I've heard that same thing. They want something a little different. So I think maybe for us, run our profile of savory sweet, and then not using Blues Hog and running another really popular brand in Head Country.
Very popular.
So,
yeah. How do you like your on your sauces? Like, do you have any vinegar based sauces in your rubs, or do you run pretty? You know?
So for our sauce, we run the same sauce across all 4 proteins. We don't mix up a separate sauce for everything. So,
okay.
But our sauce, it's got just a little bit of vinegar on the back end. And a lot of that is just for when we compete down closer to the North Carolina border. You know, you start getting some of those Carolina judges who expect a little bit of a vinegar. So we run just enough to where it gives you just a slight bit of vinegar taste, but it's not, you're not losing that sweetness that I think most of the judges in our region are looking for. And we don't change up our sauce depending on what region we go to. We've run the same flavors when we've gone to Oklahoma or Alabama or, you know, up in Pennsylvania. Wherever we go, we run the same stuff. And I think we've got a flavor profile that's it's balanced neutral, as I like to say. You know, it's not one flavor heavy and it's not missing a flavor. You know, our sauce and our profile starts out savory, then you get a note of sweetness. And then you get a little bit of that heat on the back end, but then it kind of finishes with a little bit of that vinegar heat or that vinegar twang. But nothing is overbearing. And really for us, vinegar is probably the lightest taste on our profile. But I feel like you need that vinegar somewhere.
Yeah. I love vinegar sauces on food I eat. Yeah, you know, yeah. I love a good Carolina vinegar based sauce, but when it comes to you know, competition stuff, I mean, it's so true. Like when it comes to sauces, it's such a you got to balance it so well with and like one spice or not spice, but one flavor profile. Like you got to be really careful of. You got to walk the red line as spice, you know, in any heat. Because I know Head Country's got some that was it apple habanero or
they got an apple habanero.
Yeah, they got some stuff that's got a little howdy doody on there, and I love that stuff. But I've been dinged and stuff because of you know, those little chili flakes like you talked about, a little heat on there.
So one thing we do, we don't add anything with any sort of habanero or chili. We don't run anything with heat in any of our base rubs or sauces. Heat something. If I feel it needs some heat, I can add that with, like I said, a little bit of Utzel's Bold, or even I could add a little bit of hot honey at the end. It's one of those things. If it's there and you need to take it out, have fun adding lemon juice. But you can always add heat in some form. You can never take the heat out. If you have too much heat, you're going to be screwed. So I compete where I can control as many variables as I can, and heat's one of those variables. So if you taste our rub profile or you taste our sauce, you're getting very, very minimal heat on all of it because of that.
I got you, man. Hey, Jay, what about you, buddy? What's give us some of your secrets, man. Travis has been spilling the tea, man. I want to hear some of that Norella secret.
Man, I don't have any secrets, Man, you come in my trailer, man, you can see everything I do.
or check out the Right on Cue podcast page, man, where you'll see all his recipes posted on there here shortly.
Just like AJ, man. I'll tell you anything you want to know. I can't even tell you.
They won't tell you nothing. What are you talking about? That dude is like a politician when it comes to secrets. He's like, I don't know.
This guy could be.
I've just walked my timeline over to and given him my timeline. New team starting out. Hey, here you go. I see you're cooking on drums. Here's my timeline if you want to try to figure something out. So I might as well just take a picture of my timeline and put it on my Facebook page.
There you go. That way you never lose it.
I mean, it's always be there for perpetuity.
Yeah, I guarantee he got a picture of my timeline in his phone somewhere.
Oh, 100%. Sugar ain't easy, babe. You should have locked your trailer. Hide your kids, lock your trailer.
Yeah.
I think there's too much secrecy in barbecue myself. I firmly believe if we take the three of us, take my wife, take 5 other cooks, we all get the exact same drum, the exact same rubs, the exact same sauce, and the exact same timeline, you will turn in 7 different tastes and 7 different tendernesses.
Oh, 100%. Well, it's like I got, you can take these classes and like I got recipes from some of the world champions, I have their timelines and I have their recipes. I can't cook like them. Mm-hmm. My food don't taste like theirs.
Yeah. Well, I think there's the variable there is what you do outside of that timeline. We all talk about, the last 10-minute magic. 10 minutes. What do you add? How much salt do you add? How much hot honey do you add? That last little bit of time where you're getting your flavor dialed right in. There's been times I've just went in the trailer, grabbed maple syrup, and just doused my ribs in maple syrup just because I thought they needed to be sweeter. So those are the factors that nobody thinks about. And that's why I don't mind telling everybody exactly what I do or helping out people, because at the end of the day, it all comes down to what you do as an individual and what calls you make in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, man, Travis, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, this is the time of the show, though. I want to hit you with a little lightning round, man. Brought to you by BBQ Barbecue Supply for all your barbecue supply needs. Make sure to check out BBQ Barbecue Supply for all your barbecue supply needs, man. Got you a few questions, like some little one-liners, nothing too serious. Don't think about it too hard. You ready?
Yep, let's go.
Let's go, man. If you're going to go on vacation, where are you going, the mountains or the beach?
Mountains.
Man, you live in the mountains. You still go to the mountains. I like it. Respect.
You forget I'm a flatlander. If I'm going to the mountains, I'm going to the big mountains.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. Man, who is on your meat Rushmore?
Oh man, that's a good one there. You gotta have Tuffy Stone on there. You gotta have Myron Mixon. And then for me, it's going to be some of the local guys. One of the guys I really look up to is Chris Shriver with Brother Uncle. He started kind of making a name for himself in the backyard when I started, so he's going to be on that list. And I would have to put a conglomerate of all the backyard teams I've competed with that's now going up to the Masters. It's kind of paved the way for the teams like me who's doing the same thing. Your John Wade, your Steve Dotsons. So we'll just put a shrine to the backyard on that Mount Rushmore.
Awesome.
What is coming from the backyard now going to the pro? What is one thing you wish would change about the perspective of backyarders versus pro?
Same thing we all say. Backyard is just a name. It's not the cook knowledge and the cook level. I'm on that boat that I don't think backyard should be the name of what it should be. So I wish they would just change the name to not even semi-pro. We're just like pro. We can hold our own. We've proven that with single meats. So I think there's that misconception that backyard, oh, well, you guys just cook for fun. No, we can hold our own against anybody else. So I think that's the misconception. The name needs to change, in my opinion.
I got you. You're at a contest. You got a walk-up song. What's that going to be?
Oh, man. Probably Big City Hillbilly by the Davison Brothers Band.
All right. I thought for sure it'd be John Denver something.
That's everybody.
All right, man. What is one thing you have in your trailer and you cannot say? You always have your trailer at a competition. You cannot say your thermometer.
Oh, man. Toilet paper.
Toilet paper.
Seriously, though, man, can't say your thermometer. We always have a jar of backup sauce and backup rubs. We were at a contest up in Harrisburg, and 20 minutes before turn-ins, my dad dropped the crock pot, and we lost all our sauce. So,
been there, done that.
We always carry a backup jar of sauce now.
Yeah, amen. What is one thing you know now that you wish you knew at the beginning of your career?
Man, have more fun. First year or two, we kind of took it a little bit serious and didn't go out and just socialize. And the more we compete, the more we go out and socialize, the more we carry a cooler of drinks around. And Uncle W's in chat, we've sat around just taking shots between turn-ins and stuff. If you're not having fun, man, why are you doing it?
Fair enough, man. All right, man. To round it out, man, we're gonna do marry, screw, and kill. All right. Put these three in that order: Memphis in May, Houston Rodeo, Kansas City Royal.
Probably
or American Royal. Pardon me.
Probably kill the livestock rodeo just because I've never been to it. And then I would almost have to say a tie for the other two. I've never been to either, so they're kind of
no ties here, baby.
Oh man,
we ain't getting out there.
The Royal in Memphis in May.
Yeah,
I want to say marry Memphis in May and Royal for the other one.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. All right, buddy, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show, dude. I truly appreciate it. Let these people know, like I said, where they can find you and what sponsors you guys. The time to give some shout outs.
Yeah, man. So we're on Facebook, Golden Blue Barbecue. Also, same handle on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. As far as sponsors go, we're really blessed to have some great sponsors. We got Green Mountain Grills, Springer Mountain Farms, LC Barbecue, Challenge Butter, Country Boys Barbecue, Little Smoke, Mountaineer Meat Smokers, Stuckers, Puckers, Utsworks, and Spring Valley Farm Market. So really pleased to have that great.
You had a list. Like whenever people ask me who my sponsors are, I'm like, well, hold on, let me look at my mom. All right, thanks. Everybody. No, I'm kidding. No, obviously Spring Mountain, and don't forget Barbecue Bus. Great people.
Spring Mountain, best chicken on the planet, man.
Best chicken on the planet. What?
That's right. That's right.
But man, thank you so much for coming on, dude. I am sad and bummed that you're going over to the dark side this year. We will miss you in the backyard series, but we'll be definitely watching and paying attention and hoping you kick all their asses.
Hey, that's absolutely, right, man. It's been a pleasure, guys.
Yes, sir, man. Take care, buddy.
Man.
See ya. Woo, hello. No.
Get him.
Your forehead went to a 5 head right there. That was big.
No.
No, man. I know. No, that was a great show, man. I love talking to Travis. Hell of a competitor, and I think he rounded out the year on chicken when he won the Team of the Year awards.
I think like 5 or 6, something like that.
Yeah, he killed it towards the end of the year. But man, we need to make a road trip up there and do something around the Mid-Atlantic area. I need to travel some more. That's one thing I need to do in my barbecue.
Gay Lakes, Virginia.
Yeah, but West Virginia. I don't know. I spent enough time in West Virginia when I used to play at Moorhead. We used to venture up there a little bit, but no, I'm maybe banned from there. Who knows? But no, man, I appreciate it. That's our show tonight, guys. Make sure if you haven't to like and subscribe and follow us for all you newbies. And for you guys listening on Apple and Spotify, make sure you click that follow button. It sure would help us, and we sure do appreciate it. It makes you smarter and prettier in our eyes. Next week, we got another great show coming up. Make sure you tune in. And I know I've said this, and I'm sorry. I blame AJ. We will be announcing the Border Wars. We actually went over it before the show tonight. Border Wars rules and entry and all that stuff. So pay attention to the Right on Cue podcast Facebook page. We'll be posting all that stuff there and announcing everything in the shows to come. So that's our show tonight, guys. Thank y'all so much. Stay wet. Don't stay wet. Stay dry. And as always, when it comes to barbecue, make sure you're always right on cue. Later, guys.
That's all, folks.